Resilience is the ability to persist over time.
In the Manila Bay and other bays that experience red tides, it is the marginalized that is affected in health and in economy.
Yung engineering is the ability to absorb, thrive, and then recover. The faster you're able to recover, the more resilient.
Sa Pilipino, ito ay katibayan at katatagan sa mahirap na sitwasyon at ang kakayahang bumangon muli.
Yung ecological naman, the ability to adapt. Yung evolutionary resilience, vale, to really innovate and be creative.
Resilience is really being able to spring back from adversity, but it should have learning, and therefore it strengthens you to be more resilient than before the adversity came to you.
Before COVID-19, the Philippines was already on to SMT-based measures to improve its resilience capacity. With COVID, the country was awakened to the need for resilience of our economic, health, and educational status as well.
The country as a whole is, I think, not so resilient because while we have the capabilities, the opportunities, and the resources to cope with COVID-19, the whole body is suffering because the leadership and management is not working so well. When it comes to individual resilience, those who have more resources, capabilities, and opportunities will be more resilient than those who are not.
A lot of the problems really may be interconnected, vale. You have to look at it from a holistic point of view. It encompasses more than natural sciences or physical problem, vale, but also it gets into the ecological, biological, as well as social pa nga.
Among issues and problems we have are poverty, ecosystem destruction, climate change, and variability.
Much of our attention is placed only after the disasters happen. What we should do really is to take early action years before the hazard strikes, and we should put our attention and our resources into that type of planning.
We need SMT-based transdisciplinary and inclusive approach to coping with possible hazards.
The fragmentation of society needs to be resolved for resilience.
Communication is very, very important. And we should communicate to the people using not just scientific communication means, but through arts, music, understand the mindset of the Filipino people so we can communicate better.
Well, the way to move forward is interoperability.
So we have to do a lot of work as a person, as a community, and as an institution to really have resilience as one of the values of the Filipinos. Yung tunay na resilience na towards improvement.
Building resilience requires sustainability science inspired by transdisciplinary approach.
To be sustainable, you have to be resilient. To be resilient, you have to be sustainable.
Go natural, go with nature's flow. Non-structural or natural interventions, as well as good planning, is the most sustainable.
Finally, we need to harness and strengthen the Filipino spirit of bayanihan.
Ayan, magandang hapon Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Para sa ating mga kapatid sa Luzon, maya pagat panapon, ngayong baga malam, masantos siyang araw, marahay na hapon. Para sa ating mga kapatid sa Visayas, maayong hapon, maupin niya kulop, maayong ugto. At para sa ating mga kapatid sa Mindanao, assalamualaikum, malingkat mahapon, mapiya katuwa alongan, buenas tardes. Para naman po sa ating mga panauhing banyaga, good afternoon, annyeonghaseyo, konnichiwa, salamat siyang Shang Wuhao. Welcome po sa ating mga regular na tagapakinig at tagapanood dito sa Zoom at sa ating Facebook Live. Hello po sa inyong lahat at welcome po sa ating ika-51st episode ng The Filipino Sustainable Development Goals or SDG Action Hour. Ito po ang ating lingguhang kumustahan at kwentuhan para sa maganda, maayos, mabuti at makabuluhang kinabukasan. At simula po sa ating episode ngayon, isa't kalahating oras na po tayo ng hitik na talakayan ng mga usaping napapanahon. And ngayong hapon po ay halos parang isang balikbayan po ang ating speaker dahil sa kasalukuyan siya po ay isang faculty member sa Botswana International University of Science and Technology. Ang ating pong speaker, para po sa ating topic, ito po ay pinamagatan nating ito po ay pinamagatang Enhancing Soil Health for Sustainable Crop Productivity. Ang atin pong speaker ay tubong Katubig, Northern Samar. He finished his bachelor's and master's degree at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, with both degrees specializing in soil science. At sa pagpapatuloy po ng kanyang Doctor of Philosophy degree, siya po ay napadpad sa Ehime University in Japan under the Agro-Environmental Chemistry program, and later on, he became a postdoctoral fellow at the Korea Forest Research Institute in South Korea. And bago po ito at after po ito ay mukhang nakapunta pa rin po sa iba't ibang bansa ang ating guest dahil bago po siya umalis sa Pilipinas, ang kanya namang professional career ay nagsimula sa University of Eastern Philippines bilang isang associate professor until 2017, and pagkatapos po nito ay nag-serve naman siya as assistant professor naman sa Catholic University of Daegu from 2011 to 2017. At mula nga po noong 2017 hanggang 2020, siya ay isa ng senior lecturer sa BIUST, and until now, siya na po ay isang associate professor. Di ba po? Ang ganda ng journey ng ating speaker ngayong hapon. And ang mga tinuturo po niya ay kabilang dyan ang environmental hazard and waste management, soil and water pollution and remediation, sustainable waste management systems and circular economy, and waste management technology applications to name a few. And interestingly, ang ating pong speaker ay isang balik scientist fellow ng Department of Science and Technology. Hindi pa po ang galing, and bilang isang balik scientist fellow, he serves as technical consultant for research and development capacity building for researchers and faculty of several universities, kabilang po dyan ang Northwest Samar State University, Southern Leyte State University, and Mindanao State University to name a few. And there's more dahil bihasang-bihasa na po ang ating speaker sa kanyang field of interest. Paano ba naman po? He has already at least 49 refereed journal papers, 72 conference proceedings, and isa rin po siya reviewer ng 13 refereed international journals. Wow. This is another afternoon, a jam-packed afternoon for sure, dahil ating speaker ay bihasang-bihasa nga po sa kanyang topic. And huwag pa natin pahabain ito to give us another informative talk. Everyone, let us all welcome Dr. Venecio Oy Ultra Jr. Dr. Ultra?
Yes, good morning from Botswana and good afternoon, Philippines. Let me share my presentation. So my topic would be enhancing soil health for sustainable crop production. So to our academicians around, good morning from Botswana. So this is Venecio U Ultra Junior from Samar, Katubig in Samar. So I'll start with my presentation. On the objective about giving some insights on the importance of promoting soil health as a cornerstone for sustainable crop productivity. I would like to kick off this presentation by mentioning some of these quotes that underpins the importance of preserving soil health as a resource for sustenance of the human race. So the first one is essentially all life depends upon the soil. There can be no life without soil and no soil without life. They have evolved together by Charles Kellogg. So this underpins the importance of soil to sustain life. Soil and the life within serves many ecological functions and services that support life. One of which is the many biogeochemical processes responsible for nutrient cycling and energy transfer. Disruption of these biogeochemical processes will lead to life extension and ecosystem disruption, including food security. So that's why this is one of my favorite quotes. The other one would be the nation that destroys its soil destroys itself by Franklin Roosevelt. This quote underpins the importance of soil as a national resource that is essential for food security. As a nation, there should be a collective effort for food security, and we should start by preserving our soil resources. There are other quotes from famous scientists and philosophers about soil that could make us realize the importance of preserving soil quality. Soil serves so many functions and ecological services. Soil is a key component of natural and agricultural and wildlife ecosystem that sustain all global processes. If you see this picture, there are so many functions that soil are involved with, or directly or indirectly. Some of these functions include nutrient cycling, carbon storage and turnover, water maintenance, soil structure arrangement, regulation of above ground diversity, biotic regulation, buffering, and transformation of potentially harmful elements and compounds. The environmental services that are being rendered for free by soil include regulation of air quality and composition, temperature regulation, carbon nutrient cycling, water cycling, natural waste treatment and recycling, and habitat for most living things and for food. So one of the functions that the soil render is on providing food for humanity. Soil health is one of the best way, okay, to maintain food production. So when we say soil health, we mean that we improve the soil quality. So we need to promote health, because a healthy soil, it means it should be fertile, which can provide essential nutrients to plants. A healthy soil would have important physical characteristics, such as good structure aggregation to allow water and air to exchange, water infiltration for roots to explore, and a biota to thrive. These are some of the characteristics of a healthy soil. And aside from that, there should be diverse and active biological communities in soil that would help resist physical degradation and promote cycle of nutrient at rates to meet the plant needs. So some of the good characteristics of a good quality soil include good health, sufficient depth, sufficient but not excessive nutrient supply, small population of plant pathogens and insects, good drainage, large population of beneficial organisms, low weed pressure, no chemicals or toxins that may harm the crop, and it should be resilient to degradation and unfavorable conditions. Soil health is a cornerstone for food security, environmental health, and sustainable development. By promoting favorable or good quality soil, such as improving the soil properties, as increasing organic carbon, improving the soil pH, bulk density, all these properties, including chemical and biological properties, then the soil would be able to perform its functions, that not only for food production, but for biological biodiversity, carbon sequestration, source of raw materials, and all others. And that if the soil would be able to perform its functions, it would be able to provide the ecological ecosystem services, and then will attain food, energy, and water security. So this is how important promoting soil health in sustaining our humanity. So a soil, a good quality soil, okay, is when we say we want a good quality soil, it means that it is a soil that does what we want to do. A healthy, high-quality soil is usually fertile, good structure, and biologically active, to name a few. So if you can see this picture, this could represent a good soil in this picture here. Now, soil health, okay, as I said, is a cornerstone for balanced crop nutrition. Up to 60% of yield is dependent on soil fertility. Setting the foundation for healthy soil provides greater crop productivity and sustains the land for generations to come. So what should we do to promote soil health? So we have some principles that we can adopt. We should adopt replenishment of the nutrients and the resources that we withdraw from the soil. We should improve nutrient efficiency, nutrient use efficiency, and we should adopt sustainable practices, farming practices that would promote soil health. Because not all farming practices, as we already observed, are good or would have a long-term good effect to our soil. So if you look at this figure, and we focus on the different management practices in this side, say there are management practices that we can classify as non-sustainable and sustainable, pertaining to improving soil health, and later on to sustainable crop productivity. So for example, non-sustainable practices include monoculture, right? Conventional tillage, short rotation, use of herbicides and pesticides, or and all other things. While sustainable management processes would include conservation tillage, organic farming was considered sustainable, use of cover crops, crop diversity, and green and blue infrastructures. Then this, if we adapt this kind of management practices, then all of this would lead to probation or developing a much more healthy soil. So what are the soil health enhancing farming practices? So I have listed here some four major practices that would deal with optimum nutrient management. So in this case, we have to match the supply of soil nutrient with nutrient demands of crops. So here we avoid over-fertilization. We avoid overuse of chemicals that may hurt the other components of our soil, especially the biological component. Then maintaining acceptable pest-tolerant labor. So here we have to adopt resilience on crop rotations and biocontrol agents, reducing or maintaining low pesticide use. So how this is related to soil health? So if we overuse pesticide and chemical agents, definitely the residues will go into the soil, and this will disrupt some of the biological processes because it could be toxic to organisms in soil. So another thing is maintaining soil physical properties. So maintaining minimum tillage and reducing erosion, leaching, buildup of organic matter are key factors such that we attain good health on the soil. So it will create a favorable environment such that our plants would grow optimally. So at the same time, maintaining good physical properties of the soil would lead to much other provision of different ecological services such as air purification or water purification, and even carbon dioxide sequestration. Then the last one, but this is not the only thing that we can do about to promote soil health is promoting biodiversity. So promoting biodiversity in soil itself means we have to apply or combine all these environment friendly practices such that would be able to have efficient and resilient biochemical processes that would be responsible for the different biogeochemical cycles in soils. So these are some to enhance the previous slides. You can see here about sustainable agriculture. Now, here one of the sustainable agricultural practices that also promote soil health are use of polyculture, organic fertilizer, biocontrol, biological pest control, integrated pest management, enhanced irrigation efficiency, crop rotation, soil conservation, and others, right? So if you look closely how these different practices would affect soil, all of this would, enhance soil health. So in contrast, if you look at some of these phenomena or practices here, this would lead to deterioration of soil quality, such as salinization, overgrazing, loss of biodiversity. These are some indicators of poor soil quality. Now, to connect to look at the connection between soil health and crop productivity, let us look at crop yield in different production system. Currently, the key challenge for sustainable intensification of agriculture is to produce increasing amount of food and feed with minimal biodiversity loss, nutrient leaching, and greenhouse gas emission. So several studies have indicated that organic farming is considered more sustainable, however, less productive than conventional farming. Now, how are we going to compromise these things? So some studies, long-term studies, have revealed that indeed, by the long duration, yields in organic farming system were lower, but those of both conventional system after 10 to 13 years, while requiring lower nitrogen input. This is a study based of Srama et al. 2018. So they have monitored the yield between these three different farming systems, and this lower line here would indicate that there is increasing yield in organic agriculture, right? So in fact, at the end of 2013, the yield difference between the conventional and the organic farming system is not significantly different. So there is an indication that with the organic farming, there is more sustainable productivity with lower inputs. To continue from that study, they also showed about the yield, right? This relative yield between organic farming and conventional yield, and you could see that the gap is decreasing with time. So with the yield of potato and this one yield of wheat. So from that study, it indicated that depending on the crop, the yield gap could be higher or lower, but there is a uniform trend that with organic farming system, the yield gap narrows with time between organic farming and conventional farming system. So in this one, the paper by Klaus Peter Wibos and Jennifer Smith published in 2019 indicated that by focusing on transforming natural resources rather than inputs, organic system can raise their yields and play an ever greater role in global sustainable agriculture and food production in the future. So this would tell us that the organic farming, okay, has the potential to increase its yield as long as we become consistent. And looking deeper on the published data, we this trend actually could be observed that the organic farming, okay, resulted to lower coefficient of variation and enhanced spatial stability in almost all the parameters that they have gathered. And what is the implication for that one? So it means that this could be a continuous improvement, and it could be more resilient to environmental disturbance. So organic farming now becomes more resilient to disturbance. And that is a good news, because as you can see from this data, the previous data, that the coefficient of variation from the yield for the 13 years in conventional farming is very high. That means that it does not give a stable production, even if they are doing maybe improving and or giving more inputs to their agricultural production system. So that is a good news for organic farming, which is considered more sustainable. So one of the data that was presented in that paper says that organic farming also resulted in improved soil structure with higher organic matter concentration and higher soil aggregation. So these are showing the improvement of soil physical properties. This graph here would showing the increase in organic matter, increase in aggregation of organic farming, right? So what does it tell us? All of these are indications that the soil are gaining improvement in terms of its soil health, as we have already described about what are the characteristics of a healthy soil. So it has higher organic matter, good physical properties. So organic farming would promote soil health in this case. So this one is another data on that presented in that paper, and it also shows how organic farming system would improve the pH of the soil, and then the amount of nitrate that are leached into the groundwater, which is that means there is organic farming system, and the coefficient of variation is also much lower for the period of the 13 years. So in terms of economic returns on different production system, this data would tell us that there is higher net return per area for organic corn than those are under conventional production system. So in the long run, right, we could say that it's more sustainable to have organic farming. And organic farming is only one of the farming practices that are considered sustainable. And the bottom line there, as I can see, is that these practices actually promotes soil health, right? It promotes good quality soil. That's why it was able to sustain its productivity. It was able to be resilient. It's more stable in producing the crops that are grown on the same area over a long period of years, right? Then this next slide, approach to improve soil health is to increase the organic matter in soil. So Building up and maintaining healthy soil can aid in higher yields and shape crop resilience to environmental stresses. Healthy soil has a strong water retention capacity, as already indicated. In fact, so 1% increase in organic matter would result to a much increase in available water per area. So maintaining the health of soil would eventually continuously produce more organic matter, which provide a stronger foundation for healthy crops, as you can see in this diagram. So what is the consequences if we practice these unsustainable farm methods? So it may lead to soil degradation. So soil degradation is the physical, chemical, and biological decline of soil quality. And soil degradation is considered as one of the threats to food security. So although it's not only through unsustainable crop production practices that soil degradation exists, because there are other anthropogenic causes of soil degradation, but then one of the characteristics of degraded soil include low organic matter, decline in fertility and soil structure, excessive erosion, adverse changes in salinity, acidity, and alkalinity, presence of toxic chemicals, pollutants, and even excessive flooding. So all of these are actually symptoms that your soil have low quality. That's why it is a degraded soil. So these are some of the classes of the degradation, which from biological point of view, it could be indicated decrease in microbial activity. For chemical, there's unfavorable changes in cell chemistry that diminish plant nutrition, beneficial microbes, and even the humus content. Ecological, there is decreased land productivity to its ability to be resilient with climate change, right? And then for physical, loss or depletion of fertile topsoil and long-term physical degradation that harms fertility, composition, and structure of the soil. So aside from that, this next slide, I'm just trying to point out some of the current problems that we face with adopting non-sustainable farming practices. So some of the common problems is increase in salt concentration, right? So this could be due to poor quality of irrigation water, excessive use of chemical fertilizer that would lead to accumulation of salt on the surface. And this is very bad to soil health, as well as the crops would not be able to grow. Another problems that we encounter, especially in areas near mining activities, is the presence of contaminants such as heavy metals. In fact, one of my R&D activities in the Philippines and in here in Botswana is we are trying to mitigate or to improve or rehabilitate the soil quality in areas impacted by mining activities. Because, for example, in the Philippines, the impact of Bagakay mines on Top River Basin, our study have shown that the mining in Bagakay have deposited lots of heavy metals on the floodplains of Top River Basin, and it renders the soil quality to very bad. Actually, some of the area should not be used for crop production. So now the team in the Northwest Summer State University are doing some and the activities on farming system strategies to augment heavy metal contamination in food crops and animal products. So it's the same strategy that I am using here in Botswana, because here in Botswana, mining is the main source of the GDP, and there are lots of mining here that is happening. And unfortunately, that is common all around the world, that the pollution coming from mining is uncontrolled. So it spreads to nearby agricultural land. So now we are trying to mitigate the contamination on food crops and animal products. So these are some of the strategies. So one of the key factor that we are doing is to improve the soil quality. So we are using amendments, we are introducing beneficial microorganisms and some cultural practices that would improve soil health, such that we could lower the availability of heavy metals in the soil and we can produce or reduce the concentration of these hazardous heavy metals in plants and animal products. So these are the things that we are currently doing with my research team in Northwest Somerset University, and soon we'll be doing some collaboration with Bicol University and Benguet State University on the impact of mining on agricultural production systems. So to wrap up my discussion, I would say that improving soil health would have multiple benefits that is not only on food security and nutrition, but also all other ecosystem services that include these ecosystem services, sustainable development, and even climate change adaptation and mitigation. Right? So in conclusion, I would say that maintaining health soil is the key ingredient for sustainable crop productivity, and it is a prerequisite to achieve the SDGs we have. Right? So thank you, and good afternoon in the Philippines.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ultra, for that very informative discussion po. And I hope ay may napulot-pulot ng ating mga participants. The floor is now open for questions to Dr. Ultra from our panelists and our participants. Do we have questions po ba? Yes po, Ahad Ruben, you're recognized po. Ahad Ruben, naka-mute pa po.
Okay, napakaganda naman ng presentation mo. I think you should distribute that excellent example of your presentation. Sa mga slides pa lamang talagang aangakan All right. My question is very simple. How long have you been teaching outside of the Philippines, and how are they utilizing such kind of talent in where you are stationed?
Sir, I've been in South Korea for 8 years, and I've been working with one Korean scientist that studied in Erie as area scholar, and we are working on environment-friendly agriculture. And now from Korea, I've been here in Botswana from 2017 up to the present, and I'm the one that is the team leader, project leader for this R&D activities on mitigation, rehabilitation of mine-affected agricultural lands here in Botswana. So far, we are getting good support from the government. So, and while doing this, since 2018, I've been involved as balik scientist in the Philippines. Yeah. By the way, Dean Villarreal, my father was your classmate in UPLB.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, my specialization is in vegetable crops. And every time I talk about vegetable crops, I see to it that organic farming is indeed part and parcel of the technology that I recommend, because you have explained the beauty of organic farming, and I hope that many others will be able to appreciate the kind of lecture that you have. I suggest that as long as you are in the Philippines, you travel to different parts so that you can give that excellent type of lecture that I think many of our faculty and the students will benefit. Again, congratulations again, and I am very happy that I attended this forum. I have problem with my right eye now. It's very, very itchy. So I keep on winking, but I cannot help but attend because I like the topic that you presented. Again, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much po, Ruben. Do we have questions po from our other panelists?
Hello, Dr. Ultra. Good afternoon po. We talked
Good
earlier po,
afternoon po, ma'am.
Yes, you also mentioned in your presentation earlier about mine tailings and a soil which was a product of mine tailings. And we actually visited in Marinduque several years ago, and we know for a fact that there are really hectares of barren land because of the mine tailings. So, is it safe to use that soil even though it underwent a bioremediation process? And if it is, what kind of products or what kind of can we plant vegetables or fruit bearing trees in treated soil like the soil caused by mine tailings?
Ma'am, we've been doing this here. We've been monitoring. We've been doing experiment here in Botswana on different farms around mine area. And what we observe is depending on the levels of the contamination, then it will dictate on if we can use it for crop production or not. So far, if the contamination is too high, for example, we use the pollution load index as a measure. If it is already more than 1.5, we have indicated that it cannot be used for food production, even if we add these different amendments to lower heavy metal availability. But if the pollution load is not that high, right? So, for example, the pollution load index is below 1.5. We found out that if we use amendments such as lime, organic matter, microbial fertilizers, right, and just the proper amount of nutrients, so not to overdose the nutrients, then we can effectively lower the concentration of the heavy metals and the harvested parts. So there is a need to really check and monitor the yield. So one of the strategies that we adopted, because here in Botswana, the land area is too big, okay, and also in the tough area, we are trying to introduce non-food crops for this agricultural lands that is highly polluted. So the strategy is to use non-food crops so that the farmers can still utilize this piece of land, but it should not be for food production. It should be other, for example, energy crops or specialty crops. So one of our successful stories here in Botswana is we planted essential oil producing grasses. So we planted vetiver, citronella, lemongrass on this heavily contaminated soil. They were able to grow. The concentration and the biomass is still high, but the essential oil that we were able to isolate after hydrodistillation was still safe for human use. And so this could be an alternative strategy for using this land, not as food production, but as specialty products. We also tried to use, say, sweet sorghum to plant in this area, even sugarcane, but it should not be for food production. It is for energy, ethanol production. Then we try to use the biomass such that we can have more economic return. So at the same time, while we are doing this, we are improving the soil quality. That we are hoping that in the next 5 years or 10 years, we can revert back the area into a usable land for food production. That is what our strategy is. And hopefully we'll do the same on the top river basin in Eastern Samar that is impacted by Bagakay mines in Samar Island.
So there's hope, no? So after several years of treatment. So yes, thank you, sir. There's a question from academician Virginia Cuevas. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. And Dr. Ultra, I appreciate very much your discussion, especially in organic matter.
Ma'am, nagcha-choppy ka po, ma'am? Nagcha-choppy po si ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Medyo ma'am, nagcha-choppy ka, ma'am.
Connection ko ay okay.
Ma'am, baka it's better to turn off your video, ma'am. Baka.
Okay,
Yeah, ma'am.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
sige, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. We are a group of researchers here in UP Los Baños. Dr. Nelly Agangan is working on lands, uplands, forest lands that had been covered by mine tailings. She worked in Zambales. She worked in Marinduque, Pugpog, Marinduque, and I think also in Surigao. And she is using mycorrhiza. Okay. In my case, I am working on agricultural lands, rice lands that have been covered by mine tailings. And you are correct, the number one remediation would be organic matter. And I have already published many, I think 3 or 4 papers, which would show that organic matter helps, number one, in improving soil pH. And I am using trichoderma microbial inoculant, and I have published a paper which shows that trichoderma can actually reduce the concentration of copper and lead. I work in Marinduque, Bugpog, Marinduque, and next week, on Tuesday, I will be discussing my results in my 4 years work in Marinduque to Marinduque teachers and researchers. My experience, both in rice and vegetables, rice has a mechanism by which I have been working on copper, because copper is one of the contaminants from mine tailings. And I have worked on agricultural lands which has concentration of more than 500 ppm or milligrams per kilograms. And trichoderma plus rice straw compost can actually gradually reduce. It's a very effective bioremediating combination. Organic matter from rice straw compost plus trichoderma can gradually remediate or reduce the concentration of lead and copper. I have a publication 2022 along that line. Now, going back to rice, rice has a mechanism by which the copper will be concentrated in the root system, and very minimal amount of copper is translocated in the rice straw and even in the grains. So even if the rice crop is planted on heavily contaminated soil, I'm talking of copper and lead, the amount of copper present in the grain is acceptable based on the FAO level of contamination. Because as I mentioned, rice has a mechanism by which the heavy metals, especially copper, is retained in the root system. So I am very glad that you brought about the use of organic matter. Yes, use of organic matter plus microorganisms that can remediate heavy metals would be very effective in gradually reducing heavy metal contamination. What we need is an effective extension agent, DA and other extension activities or institutions that will bring about this knowledge from Dr. Agangan and from my research in order to make those heavily contaminated agricultural lands and forest lands productive again. Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you for your inputs. In fact, I'm also working with Dr. Agangan. Is it safe to say that I reviewed your paper about the mugbog and rice and trichoderma? It should not be said, but yeah, I am aware of your publication. And I think just to add about the mechanism on how the rice plant were able to reduce the uptake, especially on the above ground parts, is that first, if it is lowland, the pH of lowland soil would be around 7, and at pH 7, the availability of copper is reduced. Another thing is the presence of iron plaque on the surface of the rice roots is actually served as the binding agents of these cations because they are made of iron and manganese hydroxides. So they have high affinity to these heavy metals, and actually they serve as protection or barrier for the transport of these heavy metals into the root. So they prevent the uptake. So that was a very good thing about grasses and about rice, that they were able to survive in highly contaminated environment.
Okay.
So it's the same mechanism that I observe in most of the grasses that are heavy metal hyperaccumulators. Yes, ma'am.
I beg to disagree on terms of pH because I have worked on Mangkayan, Benguet, where the rice lands have been contaminated by Lipanto as early as 1986, and they have not been rehabilitated. And in Mugpog, because of acid mine drainage, the pH of the soil is 5 or 4.5 because of the oxidation of pyrite, releasing sulfuric acid. So a great number of these contaminated agricultural lands have pH very close to 4.5, 5. And that makes the heavy metals more available for absorption by the roots. Rarely that I was able to monitor pH close to 7. Lagi
Okay,
na
yes, ma'am.
close, very acidic
Actually,
because of
what
the
I'm
acid mine
saying,
drainage.
that the pH would be near neutral when there is continuous flooding. Once the soil would be on oxidized condition, it will go back to acidic or alkaline condition. But a continuous flooding at the pH, for example, more than 3 weeks, the pH would normally go to neutral level, right? That's what I observed also.
The areas that I have worked on are all lowland irrigated. And our monitoring shows that napaka-acidic because of the acid mine drainage, the pyrite, the sulfuric acid. In Mangkayan, Benguet, I was able to monitor a river which has a pH of 2. Imagine
Yes,
that.
yes, ma'am. I think it's common. Yes, because yeah, even here in Botswana, that is one of the main problem we have is the oxidation of pyrite that produces this acid mine drainage. So it's one of the most dangerous byproducts of the mining activities here,
Yes,
especially from
mining,
mine tailings.
our mining laws and I would say, our DNR and GB are not keen on monitoring all this. Mining operations in the country has brought about severe damage to our agricultural lands and to other, even the forest areas, because of deforestation and the mine tailings that are being dumped on these areas. So, at least we have been working on this for more than a decade already. And thank
Yeah.
you for reviewing my paper. And I was able to publish, I think, 4 or 5 papers already. I think it's 6 papers, series of papers on remediation using trichoderma. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Also, thank you.
Yes, I think we have questions here in the Q&A box. So let me just read it for you, sir. It's from an anonymous participant. Sir, have you tried using bamboo as planting material? Felix Mining Corporation tried in their abandoned tailings pond, but I'm not updated on result. So hindi siya sigurado sa kung ano yung results nun. But have you tried daw using bamboo as planting material?
Here in Botswana, we have experiments on survival, heavy metal accumulation capacity of different bamboo species on at least 12 types of mine tailings. And in the Philippines, the group from Northwest Samar State University, they will be testing the different bamboo variety. And the experiment will commence this year. It is funded by Picard. Yes, there are positive and on other countries. Yeah, bamboo are one of the plants that are popularly used for phytoremediation. It's because they can really survive in soil with high heavy metal concentration, and that the biomass that are produced have some economic values. So that is also one of the things we are doing here in Botswana on the utilization of biomass that we produce from phytoremediation systems.
Na-notice ko din, sir, when we went to Marinduque in Mugpog, ang mga tumutubo po doon ay yung eucalyptus tree. Is there any significance about that?
Yeah, eucalyptus are tolerant and they can hyper accumulate, or they can accumulate high levels of copper, nickel, and lead, and even chromium. We have a paper. I think I have a paper with my students on the ability of eucalyptus to phytoremediate in 3 types of heavy metal contaminated mine tailings from gold mine, which is high in arsenic, and the other one in copper and nickel mine tailings, which is very high in chromium, cobalt, copper, and nickel, of course. Yeah, eucalyptus is one of the popular trees that are used. I also have some the rain tree. The rain tree is also good, and then the willows are good. And locally, the group from NWCSU, they have identified some grass species, some trees that that are actually thriving in the riparian area of the Taff River. And now they are going to validate if indeed these plant species are capable for phytoremediation or hyperaccumulator, or just even the fact that they're already growing in this heavy metal contaminated environment. It's already a good sign that they can survive and they can be used for phytostabilization. Regreening is important for this mine affected environment.
I,
Thank you, sir.
I would like to add.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead po.
Dr. Merdeline Lit, remember, she's one of your resource persons sa bamboo, is now conducting project in Mugpog, Surigao, and Zambales, using bamboo as plant for bioremediation of these heavy metal areas that have been covered by mine tailings. So she's actually very busy. Almost every month, she has been visiting these three areas because Dr. Agangan has retired. And so Dr. Merdelin Lit is now taking over the projects, NRCP funded projects on remediation of the areas that have been destroyed by mine tailings. And she is a very good advocate of bamboos, as you have seen when she was your resource person dito. So there will be greening of this mine tailings covered areas with bamboo, plus auricularia that has been present in Bugpog. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you po. Yeah. There's another question here, sir. Again, from the anonymous attendee, sabi niya, are the biomass as a product used for bioremediation safe to use for composting and free of heavy metals?
No. Yeah, that's one thing that because if you use it for composting, you are returning the related heavy metals to the soil. So if you are using it in the different site, you're transferring the contaminants. So at first it could be okay because your soil, these are some of the essential heavy metal nutrients that you use, but continuous use may have a problem. Right? Continuous use of compost from bioremediation biomass will have a problem later on for transferring and recontamination of pristine land because you use compost. Now, what we do here in Botswana, we try to use for other applications. So we convert them into biochar, right? One of my students even tried to recover nanoparticle of copper from the biomass, then look for other application. So far, the biochar that we produce from phytoremediation biomass, we can use it as absorbent material for wastewater treatment. Because, for example, a heavy metal-laden biomass that is converted into biochar has more capacity to absorb some anionic pollutants in wastewater, phosphorus, nitrate, because the heavy metal modify the surface functional group of the biochar produced, and it has increased affinity to anionic contaminants. So, we are continuously trying to look at on how we could further modify the biochar we produce from phytoremediation biomass by activation. We are testing different types of activators such that we can produce more method and products of biochar from phytoremediation that would be suitable for removing different kinds of contaminants from wastewater. So we are targeting about organic contaminants that are present, for example, antibiotic residues or dyes from wastewater using the biochar that we produce from phytoremediation biomass.
Can I butt in?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Tungkol doon about the biomass from areas that have been contaminated, it depends, no? Because in rice straw, in rice scrapping, as I have mentioned, the heavy metals is not translocated on the straw. So we are making use of the rice straw and convert them into compost and use the compost as one of the bioremediation.
Yeah, I agree with that because it's a special case in which the metals are not
We
translocated to
have
the.
already a rapid composting technique.
Yeah. As I said,
Thank
it's
you,
a
I
ma'am.
have
special
a
case.
Thank you.
rapid composting technique wherein the farmers will only scatter the rice straw na minimal labor input and with adaptable to mechanization in agriculture. So it's very safe to use the biomass from compost when the rice straw or the biomass does not have the high concentration of the metals. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you po. So there's another question po sa Q&A box natin. Sabi niya, good PM po, sir. What is your recommendation in mining area like Felix Mine in Itogon and Tuba Benguet to be sustainable in our farming industry?
Okay. First, the mining concessions should adhere to what they have promised in their environmental clearance certificate, right? Actually, before they were given the permit, they have stated on how they should manage their waste. If they manage their waste properly, then we could prevent the spread of this waste into a just environment and we prevent this problem. So that's one thing. They have to strictly implement their waste management system so that we don't spread this material into a just environment. That's one thing. Now, because of the fact that there is no 100% compliance on this management system, special waste management system, then we have this problem. Now, what the question is what we should do now. So the first thing, I have just a meeting this morning with the BSU group, and we are going to look at to do assessment. As Professor Academician Cuevas has indicated that there was no monitoring. So once we assess the problem, then we can provide solutions. That's one thing that we should do. So we have to know the extent of the problem, what levels of contamination, what are the contaminants, where are these areas, then so that we can design a strategy to mitigate these problems. That's the thing that we should do at the national level.
Thank you, sir. There's more questions in the Q&A box. What should we do with the biomass used for phytoremediation that are with the presence of translocated heavy metals exists? And what should be the safe way of disposal of this biomass with the presence of heavy metals?
Okay, so currently the practice is they recover the metals by incineration, which is not really environment friendly. So there are so many critiques about that method. So one of the things we're doing now is trying to valorize this bioremediation biomass. So one way is we use this heavy metal, high concentration heavy metal biomass as substrate for bioethanol production. So we identify yeast that is tolerant for heavy metal and still can produce good amount of ethanol. So we at least produce ethanol, then the remaining biomass will be converted into biochar. So far, that is the strategy we are adopting. The same way for plants that have essential oil, we extract the essential oil, then the remaining biomass that contains the metals convert to biochar. So for now, our group have just identified that we can convert the biomass into biochar and use it for further environmental applications such as absorbent, or we can contain them. So it is less reactive, right? And then you can put it for safe disposal in the landfill, right? But so far, it's not yet enough. We have to continuously look for more strategies so that we can make use of the biomass that we produce from phytoremediation system.
Yeah. How about, sir, yung what is a safe way of disposing or this biomass with the presence of heavy metal?
Yeah, the current practice is the incinerate, recover the metals, right? but it's not really a safe
It's not
practice.
safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not so safe. So they put it in a landfill, a properly
True.
monitored landfill, right? I think
Mhm.
academician Villarreal has a question, ma'am.
Okay. So, how can we persuade raw our local farmers to engage in organic farming if the government is still aiding them by giving inorganic fertilizers?
That is a question on strategizing at the national level. So I have a very good experience with this one because our town in Katubig is advocating organic farming, while the next town is just open. So our mayor would really say when that is an organic fertilizer from day 8, they just reject it,
Hmm?
right? So now the
Mhm.
farmers are forced to use organic fertilizer. They use recycling. They use it's just a matter of policy, right? The technology is there, the knowledge is there, but then it's the national policy or whatever policy it is that govern these things that should do the strategizing.
Ako na.
Okay, sir.
Ako na.
Ako po, I have a question, sir. I don't know if I missed this in your presentation earlier, no? How can we, yung pong ating mga regular farmers, no? At saka yung iba pang agricultural practitioners, assess yung health ng kanilang soil. Ano ba yung mga tools or tests na pwede nilang gawin na Ah, hindi naman siyempre wala naman po talagang pera yung ating mga farmers na gano'n ano. Paano ba nila maa-assess yung health ng kanilang soil? Ano bang klaseng tools ang dapat nilang gamitin or do they really need to ask for the help of the DA or what? Ano po ba?
Medyo tricky, ma'am yan. Kasi for me, based on experience, I've been exposed to farming since childhood, right? What can I observe that as long you make your soil darker, then you're improving that soil. That's one thing that I learned from practical point of view. And later on, I understand that because the soil that is darker, and then you can observe really that the weeds are growing well, the plants you planted are growing well, then it would be an indicator. But if your soil, if your plants have something, they should be more observant on their plants, right? They have to be observed because there is even a science called the ethno science on agriculture, ethno-agriculture. Actually, our ancestors have their way to detect, and that's one thing that we can extract. I'm not really familiar on that field. I only have a friend that is working in Malaysia about the ethno-agriculture thing, and he told me that these farmers have their way of distinguishing or discriminating which soil is good and which one is not, and they're working in Kalimantan in Malaysia in that side. So yeah, I'm not in the position to give more details on that one, but from my point of view, as long as it's friable, then more, say, you can observe some earthworms, more activity, biological activity, which you can really see, then I think you have a good soil. Yeah. Ma'am, excuse me, academician Villarreal is raising his hand.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry I have to say this because I think this is a golden opportunity to reconnect. In other words, this is not about soil health, but this is about reminiscing. In the first place, I noticed that the spelling of your name is different from the spelling of your dad. Your dad is B-E, not V-I. Is that
Ma'am,
correct?
sir, it's BE. Yeah,
Oh,
don't
B-E.
make a mistake.
Bination kasi ako mali ito eh. Well, at any rate, well, I have to say this because your dad is Ultra, I am Villarreal. So we were classmates, and especially in almost all laboratories that we enrolled, we would be classmates because letter U yun, naki-letter V. See? Okay. At any rate, one thing that I would like to mention is that our class is called Class 60. We prepared this book, and I don't think your dad has one like this. So if there is opportunity for you to come over to Los Baños, I will share one of these to your dad. But the question is, your dad is still alive and kicking?
Unfortunately, he passed away in 2008.
Okay, well, hindi na namin alam yun sa aming klase, but our class 60 is the most active class in UPLB as of now. We are about 84, 85, 86, 87, and we still join parades. We still participate in a number of activities of the university. Again, my offer is, if you come around, I'm going to spare one book for you so that you will have more vivid memories about your dad. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So I'm looking if there are still other questions in the Q&A box. Ayun.
Yes,
I
po,
think
Ma'am
there's
Gab.
another one. We are planning, this is again from an anonymous attendee, we are planning to conduct forest soil characterization. May we solicit on what parameters should we consider or data to in the context of soil health?
Okay, so aside from first you have to do the routine analysis. When we say routine analysis, it's the pH, electrical conductivity, the NPK content, macronutrient contents, the organic matter content. So one thing that you should also consider is assessing the microbial activity. So there are some tools that could assess the microbial functions. So that would be included. And also when you do assessment in forest soil, you should not only consider the topsoil, but you consider the deeper solum, the horizon B, so that you have more idea on what is happening within the root system.
Sir, ano po ba yung what are the best practices for conserving soil and preventing erosion, no, for sustainable agriculture?
Okay, so it's been documented well that incorporation of residues, minimum tillage, optimum fertilization, not necessarily all organic. You can add inorganic, but only to supplement the organic materials you have. Because especially if you're transitioning from conventional to organic farming, there would be lack. The presence of inherent nutrients would not be sufficient to supply the nutrient needed by the crop. So in that case, if you have organic fertilizer, you can do the supplementation using organic fertilizer. But if you don't have enough, then you have available in organic fertilizer, do it in a very minimal manner. Then integrated pest management. It's been mentioned earlier in the presentation that there are so many combination of these different practices that would really promote soil health.
Okay, sir. Thank you po. So, Doc M, you're raising your hand. Yes, go ahead po. Naka-mute po kayo, sir. Sir, naka-mute po. Naka-mute ka, sir.
Okay, magandang hapon, Doc. Very interesting topic. Pero medyo matagal-tagal na itong debate on to go organic or to go inorganic. Mayroon ba kayong data right now? What percentage of our farmers are going into organic, and what percentage of our farmers are still believing or nag-cling dito sa inorganic farming? May data ba kayo, Doc? Kasi matagal-tagal na itong debate na ito on going organic or going inorganic.
Doc, sorry, unfortunately, I don't have the data, especially for the Philippines. Yeah, I think the National Organic Action have their data. Next time I'll try to connect that one. Yeah, you're right, sir, that even myself, I'm not really into pure organic farming, because I'm trying to rationalize the need to produce enough food for the current population, and at the same time, as an environmental scientist, environmental scientist, I'm also into sustainability and protection of our resources. But what my personal take for this one is site-specific farming, site-specific nutrient management leaning towards organic farming. So if you, what I'm trying to say is, we don't need to follow strictly, especially that we are going into transition, the organic farming principle, but we have to slowly convert our system. And then by doing so, we should recognize that we have a responsibility to feed the people. So by what we should do is employ all the strategy to be environment friendly as possible, at the same time maintaining, okay, the yield that we need for our people. So that is what we are in a transition stage. So if we go abruptly to organic farming system, which unfortunately some of our advocates are pushing, then we have a problem with food security. That is my point of view po.
Kasi yung mga ibang nakakausap ko, isa sa ayaw nila sa organic ay time consuming yung pag-prepare, at saka expensive daw, and kulang ang supply. For example, if you're into 5 hectares or 10 hectares of farming or what, magkano kayang magagastos sa organic compared sa inorganic? And do we have enough supply ng organic fertilizers para ma-adapt yan?
Yeah, I think those are some of the data and the information that should be gathered and then put into a system such that we have a proper analysis on the current situation sa farming system natin po.
Thank you,
So,
sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Yung ba yung reason, Dr. Ultra, kung bakit napakamahal ng organic fruits and vegetables? Na I'm talking sa kasi po as a housewife, mas mahal po kasi ang mahal ng organic vegetables and fruits, no? Para bumili kami noon, talagang dapat isang tao lang yung kakain para ma-afford namin. So, ayun po ba yung reason why it's very expensive? And that's the reason why kami we opt na lang to buy inorganic.
Yes, in part, ma'am. Sorry po. Yes, in part yun ang reason. Kasi first, yung most of the organic farming system natin ay struggling to attain high yield. Right? Struggling pa sila mag-attend ng high yield. They are on transition stage. Based on the data I have shown, 13 years organic farming, nakamit pa lang niya yung yield gap, nag-close pa lang siya doon, di ba, sa conventional. So, during this transition period, right? So, mababa talaga ang yield, kaya kailangan nila imahalin yung kasi yung cost ay mataas pa. But hopefully in the long run, they would be able to increase the production, and at the same time there would be decreasing amount of inputs as shown in the data. So in the long run, if the longer you practice organic farming, then you become more efficient. Right? You will not be buying organic fertilizer, for example. You will be producing your own. You will be practicing efficient nutrient cycling, right? Then all system would work together, right? More diversified farming, that your cows, your cattle, your pigs are contributing to the resources, and then efficient movement of nutrients. Then at that time, when you have a stable system as organic system, then I think you are as productive or even more productive, than the conventional, then you can now have a lower price of your product, because at the beginning you have to make it higher, and also the buyers have to pay the premium of the environmental services that this organic farming system is doing to our
Sir, gaano pa
environment.
ba tayo katagal para ma-reach natin yung ganun? So
Well,
that
wala po akong
affordable na rin
idea,
yung
but it
ating
could be
organic.
it could be a good thing for to model on how far we are from the ideal system of a stable organic farming system. But I
Parang
think
ang
some
layo pa
countries in
natin.
Europe are already on that one.
Well,
Ang layo pa natin, Doc M. Anyway, sir,
Oo.
Academician Villarreal, go ahead.
dagdag sa
Sige, sir,
usapan.
go ahead po.
Well, ang katotohanan, pagka-organic, mas mahal ang cost of production at
Yes.
mas mababa pa ang yield. Samantalang yung inorganic, tambaka mo na isang katutot na fertilizer, sisipa ang yield niyan. But of course, meron ding mga hindi magandang nangyayari kapag panay inorganic ang ginagamit mo. Madali salita talagang batakan yan mataas ang yield, at pagkatapos ay mas maibebenta mo ng mura. At ito ang ating gusto natin organic, mas in general lower yield, but the quality is much better.
Parang
Thank
ang
you.
tagal pa nating makarating dyan, Academician Villarreal and Doc M, So, and Dr. Ultra. Kasi kami mga housewives, hindi na namin mahintayan. Bibili na lang kami nung inorganic na mas mura. Anyway, so another question. Thank you po, Academician Villarreal and Doc M. Where can we bring our soil sample to be subjected for soil microbial activity analysis?
I think Biotech UPLB has the analytical lab. I don't know if Ateneo has or
Dito sa
UST.
Manila, sir, wala. Sa Manila, wala.
Sa Bureau of
Or in the
Soils.
region.
Europe
Oo.
Bureau of Soils.
If you are from Visayas, where do you go? And
Bureau
if you
of
are
Soils
from
they have. But if
Okay,
they have
okay.
microbiologists, if they have microbiologists, they consult and they can do it their own. There are kits available to measure these microbial activities. So if they have a microbiologist or microbiology expert, then it could be done right there in their laboratory.
Yan. Nako, 5:01 na. Siguro may last question lang ako dito sa iyo, Dr. Ultra. In your experience po, what are the most effective strategies for educating and encouraging our farmers na mag-adapt ng sustainable soil management practices? Meron na po ba tayong best practices dyan?
I think there are available best practices. The only thing is we should demonstrate it with them, work with them. Because even if we show a picture, as long as they don't experience it by themselves, then they won't adapt. Yeah. And aside from that, so I think government should give incentives for this one, to adopt this one, because sometimes it's a matter of, I do this, I have low production, how could I sustain my family? Right? That is the dilemma that our farmers are facing. So if the government wants to have a long-term sustainability of production system, then they should develop a program that would encourage more of the farmers to adopt the sustainable production system, so that promotes soil health. Then they can do all other things to encourage the farmers. They can have, there are so many strategies available, depending on if they have the money to do it. But the political will is very important.
Yan. Nako, meron pa ba tayong questions? Pero meron po ditong parang comment lang I like how webinars like this are synchronized to what we are studying in one of our courses. It widens my horizon with regard environmental sustainability. So, talagang marami pong salamat in behalf of the Future Earth Philippines. Marami pong salamat, Dr. Venecio Uy Ultra. Whatever the spelling is, very junior junior pala, may junior. Kasi sabi, kinol ni sir ang attention kanina, wrong spelling daw. Anyway, whatever the spelling is, talaga pong marami kaming natutungan doon sa iyong presentation and even doon sa question and answer. So, we are very thankful and we hope we can invite you again for another round of this SDG Action Hour. Kung meron po kayong mga, sir, if you have any updates na sa tingin mo, wow, magmumura na ang ating mga organic fruits and vegetables, sabihan nyo lang po kami, no? Kasi sabi nyo nga kanina, naiinip na yung mga farmers kasi doon sa kanilang gustong gawin, about dyan sa ating practicing of sustainable soil management, no? So kami din po, naiinip na kami sa pagkamahal ng organic fruits and vegetables. So sana dumating tayo doon, and if you have any updates, sabihan nyo lang kami so we can invite you again, sir. Ayan, marami pong salamat. Okay. Yes, sir. Do you have any
I just want to
last
say
words?
thank you to Academician Bildarial, and hopefully by December, definitely I would visit Los Baños, and I will try to see you and collect the thing you promised to me, sir. It would be very valuable to me because my father inspired me a lot to go into agriculture. Thank you, sir.
Si Benesio Uy Ultra Senior yun, sir? Anyway,
Yes, sir.
thank you so
Yes,
much,
ma'am.
sir. So, meron lang pong announcement si Paul. Specially announced din yung ating bagong time slot, Paul. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Yes, well, again, we would like to thank Dr. Ultra for a very great discussion again this afternoon. Kita nyo nga po, 3:30 tayo nag-start. Akala natin kakasya 1.5 hour, but we still had a very good discussion at ang dami pa rin questions na pumasok. So, medyo umutip ulit tayo ng konti. Some announcements lang po. First announcement is, ayun nga po, na-move na po ng 3:30 p.m. ang ating session. That is to facilitate another 30 minutes of discussion and presentation. And also to our attendees, we would like to request po na if you want to share our pubs or publicity materials about SDG Action Hour, please share directly po yung mga posted sa official Facebook page ng FEP. Please avoid on re-uploading our materials and using the logos of Future Earth Philippines and attached agencies kasi po it is government property. So hindi po sila dapat ginagamit to create pubs na hindi po affiliated sa mga agencies. And aside from that, we would like to invite you again next week for our 52nd episode. And hopefully, madami po ulit tayo. Dumadami na po ulit yung participants natin. And we thank everyone for joining us again for this Friday afternoon. Happy weekends po, and thank you so much po.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dr. Ultra.
Thank you po.
Thank you
Thank you
to
to
all
everyone.
our panelists. Thank you
And
po.
please,
Salamat po.
you can share my address, my email address for others, for the students, if they have some questions, further questions for me to answer. Okay po.
Okay. Thank you po. See you again next Friday for another hitik na discussion on SDG Action Hour. Bye po.
Thank you.
Thank you po. Wala po sila Ma'am Luli, mukhang busy po sa kanil, mukhang busy sa